Hey guys, welcome to the Bows. Today I'll be talking about Tony Ferguson. Tony is now on a 3-fight losing skid with losses over Justin Gaethje, Charles Oliveira, and Beneil Dariush. In all of those fights, Tony got dominated, some worse than others. Nevertheless, all of those losses were against top-tier opponents, but at the same time, Tony has had very few moments of success in those fights. The only moment I can think of off the top of my head is when Tony dropped Gaethje with an uppercut at the end of the second round, but that's it. So is Tony finished? Can he get back to the level he was once on? Unfortunately, I don't think so. I don't think he'll ever be the same. I said pre-fight in one of my other videos that the Tony Beneil fight would be the true determinant to see if Tony has regressed due to his age and other factors, and I think that's what we saw against Beneil. A lot of people are saying that Tony is losing because his fundamentals are not good, and now he's being exposed because of that. I think that is partly true, but I think the main issue is his age and the damage he's taken over the years. I think Tyron Woodley put it best. Not perfect, but I think he put it best out of everyone I've heard talk about it so far. Post-fight, Woodley said something like, Tony's lack of fundamentals are being exposed because his age doesn't allow those lacking areas to be covered up, so to speak, by his athleticism or by his creativity in the octagon. And I think that's mainly true. I would change that statement to say that Tony's holes in his game are being exposed because of his age, because almost everybody has holes in their game. I don't think it's just because, Tony's fundamentals are so bad, and that's why. There's plenty of people that have lacking areas. I mean, Tony does have holes in his fundamentals, but so do a lot of other people, and they're able to succeed. Before the Beneil fight, I thought Tony had glaring weaknesses in his takedown defense and his striking defense. But, during his 12-fight win streak, that was probably mainly covered up due to his ability to throw so much offense that his opponents don't have as much time, don't have as much energy to, be defensively sound and then also throw effective offense back at Tony. So that could have been covered up a lot. We didn't get to see much of it in the Beneil fight, but Tony's striking defense looked better for the few minutes that we saw him on the feet with Beneil. He seemed to be moving his head better off the center line and slipping punches instead of leaning back. But the big issue was the takedown defense in this fight and the inability to get back to his feet after being taken down. His wrestling abilities have always been a weakness to some degree. He got tossed around a bit in the Kevin Lee fight, but in that fight he was able to scramble better and just seem more agile and more athletic than what we've recently been seeing. Wrestling has never been his strong suit, but he got completely out-wrestled by Dariush. It kind of reminded me of Kevin Holland not being able to stop a takedown. I think it's clear that Tony's regression, at least in part, is due to a decrease in overall athleticism. Yes, it is a highly skill-based sport, but at the end of the day, it's a sport, and a more skilled fighter could lose to a more athletic fighter, and a fighter who has less skill than the less athletic fighter, depending on the circumstances, that could happen. The more skilled fighter could lose to the more athletic fighter. I'm not saying that Gaethje, Oliveira, or Dariush aren't more skilled than Tony, because I think you can easily make that argument that Tony is not as skilled as these guys, but Tony wasn't even close in these fights, and his one superior pressure and cardio are not able to be used at all in these fights. And that was probably Tony's greatest weapon. Tony always succeeded when the fight got quote-unquote dirty. Whenever it was madness, with both fighters hurting each other and a crazy fast pace was happening, Tony had success. But why did this regression in his game happen so fast? Why wasn't it more gradual? It actually seems quite common for fighters to regress quickly. We saw this in Donald Cerrone. Cowboy looked great against Mike Perry, Alexander Hernandez, and Ali Quinta, not elite fighters by any means, but quality opponents. Now he hasn't won a fight in his last 6 outings. And Cowboy lost all of those fights pretty badly. His last 2 fights in particular were not against guys who were anywhere as skilled as he was when he was in his prime. And I think it's possible that we've seen the same quick regression in Tony. It's also possible that we haven't seen Tony's regression because after coming back from blowing out his knee, he fought Anthony Pettis and Donald Cerrone, 2 guys that are clearly on the decline as well. So Tony may have been regressing in those fights as well, but we just didn't see it. It wasn't noticeable. I think the accumulation of damage has played a big role as well. We all loved watching Tony fight. He was a real blood and guts type of fighter, but fighting like that, especially, comes at a price. He got hit a bunch in almost every single one of those victories that he had on that 12-fight win streak, and he got noticeably rocked in the Lando Venata fight. Kevin Lee landed some bombs on him too, and Anthony Pettis hurt him bad as well. Plus, maybe his knee was never right again after tripping over the cable after the Kevin Lee fight and before the Pettis fight. And Gaethje put an ungodly amount of damage on Tony too, we can't forget that. That may have kind of been the nail in the coffin, the end to Tony's prime years as a fighter. It is also important to point out that the fighters of today are better than the fighters of yesterday, and the fighters of tomorrow will be better than the fighters of today. This is something that GSP has said a few times, and it is true of all sports and really all professions. Isaac Newton actually said a similar thing when he said, "If I've ever seen further, it is by standing on the shoulders of giants." One quote is obviously referring to fighting, and the other is referring to scientific progress, but the overall sentiment is the same. We build off those who came before us. We learn from the previous generation's mistakes, we refine skills and learn how to be more efficient, and that is how generational progress is made. Unfortunately for Tony, I think both these quotes apply to him. The division just has caught up to him. I do not think that the 12-fight win streak was fool's gold or anything like that. I know a lot of people think that Tony was just never as good as he was once perceived. I think he was that good when he was younger. The streak he was on was no accident, in my opinion. There's not a single chump or bad fighter on that resume during that 12-fight win streak. They were all very good fighters. Overall, I'd say that Tony is not as good as he once was due to a culmination of things. He's older now, therefore not as quick, strong, or as athletic as a whole. The amount of damage Tony has accumulated over the years has been extraordinarily high, and the rest of the division has caught up and exceeded his level of martial arts skills. Unfortunately, something like this will happen to many fighters if they're in the game long enough. It's especially sad to see it happen to a fan favorite like Tony. It would have also been nice to see Tony fight for the UFC Undisputed title at one point, but it is what it is. We can't go back now. Regardless of what happened and what will happen in the future with Tony's career, Tony has had a great career and will always be remembered for that amazing win streak and had many other great accomplishments as well. Alright, that's all I got today. Leave a like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments what you think about Tony Ferguson's losing skid and why it's happening. Till next time, peace.